Prime Minister, I would first like to ask a clarification about a question posed a few weeks ago about the well water. You replied that you had received information from the Ministry of Romy that once a year the well water is tested around hurricane season, and that the public is informed about the quality. We verified this with the lab, and we were informed that the last time that government submitted samples of well water is 8 years ago. So I would like to ask when the public will be informed about the quality of the well water.
The Minister of VSR will deal with, and I will pass this on to him. Because as was mentioned, you mentioned Ministry of Romy. I got that information from the Ministry of VSR, and I will pass the question or have them follow up on answering that question. I don't have any up-to-date information, but we do have more than one lab on the island as well. So I understand you're doing your investigations, but I will allow the Ministry of VSR to respond as they were the ones that provided that information.
About the rules and regulation with regards to buildings, seeing the situation in Beacon Hill, where there's a development of a 4-story building and a 6-story building planned, with the 4-story building having surpassed the building commencement for the building with 11 months. It's now 23 months since the permit was granted. And the other building, the Phoenicians, the question is if there is a building permit, because for both those buildings, pre-sale is being done and apartments are being sold that are not. There is no stone laid yet.
First and foremost, the government is responsible for the issuance of building permits, specifically the Ministry of Romy. I cannot comment on someone having pre-sale. That's their business, basically. I cannot tell somebody what to post, what to publish, what to sell, because that is not in our line of work. However, what I can say, though, if someone is building without the proper permission, we have the authorization, the authority to enforce such. You're asking me why they are doing pre-sale. I think you're asking the wrong person that question, to be honest.
Asking about the surpassing of the time.
With respect to surpassing of the time, I must say I've been here for 3.5 years now. We've issued several building permits, and 9 times out of 10, we have situations where persons don't have enough funds to start construction. Maybe they start a year after, and we're not that tight on that point. We're more tight on in the area of if there's a violation of the building permit. I must say, and you're saying all these numbers, I do not know the facts to justify what you're saying. To be honest, I don't have every building permit in my mind to say when it was issued and the date that it was published, because the date that is published is after the person pays for the building permit fee. So I can sign a building permit this afternoon, and then the department notifies them, let's say within, whether tomorrow or within 3 weeks based on their workload. And after that, the individual or the entity has a time to come in and pay. And if they don't have enough money to pay at that time for the permit, then the permit, let's say if they pay for it in October, then it's published whether in November based on the next time that the Gazette publishes it. So then they have the time from then. So you're giving all kind of months, but I cannot verify that. And I'd rather not comment on that.
Going now to the issue of the plastic bag ban. And it was, I believe, in April, because we have been questioning the Prime Minister in her capacity, the Minister of Justice, and the Minister of TIAT regarding this item, this law passed by Parliament. And the Prime Minister at the time said that it was now in the hands of the TIAT Minister, and she would have checked with the TIAT Minister to see how far he was. Then we got this, then the TIAT Minister came out and made a statement saying, just out of the blue, that there will be a ban on the import of plastic. So my question to the minister officially via Parliament channel was, what does that mean? Do we need a next law to now ban the import? Of course, it was there was silence all over until recently we took note of the ad in the local media that via the SMDF, a consultant is being looked for in order to advise the government on the implementation of the law passed by Parliament. Coincidentally, this Tuesday morning, we received the incoming documents of Parliament that are actually for the past week. And in the incoming documents, which we took note of today, the letter, and it is dated the 10th of July, but of course, registration at Parliament takes a couple of days. But the 10th of July, the Minister of TIAT responded to my questions regarding his statement about a ban on import at the ports. That was the minister's statement. The minister, in his letter that we received today, is saying that there's going to be a ban on plastic, not single-use plastic bag like the law prescribes, not plastic straws like the law prescribes, not styrofoam like the law prescribes. But he, on more than one place in the letter, the latest letter by the Minister of TIAT, speaks of a ban on plastic. So he's going to get other questions again. And I need to regretfully add that saying all of that, the government has not yet decided on a date for the enforcement of the law as passed by Parliament, but is following their own trajectory. And the minister, in the same letter of today, referred to the lack of manpower, But if you're going to now get a consultant to advise you on the implementation, it's part of the trajectory, also getting the necessary manpower so that when the government in its wisdom decides to implement this law, would we then have the capacity? Would be my question. So this is another issue that just goes round and round, and every so often we see a new approach, a new item coming out, like in the case of the single use, because that's what the law is. Starting with single-use plastic bags, plastic straws, and styrofoam, and a ban locally on the usage and offering of that material, those three materials.
Mealtime rules. Don't serve yourself first. Do not eat with your mouth open. Don't rest your elbows on the table. Don't make noise when eating. Does not apply when enjoying KFC buckets. When we bucket together, we are as we really are.
At SXM, we're taking travel and tourism to new heights. Here we boast spacious check-in areas, 10 passport control points, comfortable departure lounges, and finally, there's an airport in the Caribbean that takes your travel plans as seriously as you do. Princess Juliana International Airport.
During the hurricane season, a potential tropical cyclone can produce rainfall that can cause flash flooding and rockfalls. Stay away from flood-prone areas during heavy rainfall, such as Jump Up Casino on Emma Plain Road in Phillipsburg, ATLH Road Roundabout, L.B. Scott Road from Emilio Wilson Park until Cake House Supermarket, Zakers Gut from Petro Plus gas station until the Seventh-day Adventist Church, Welcalaken Road Cahill from Welcalaken Road Roundabout until the Wantete Loke Roundabout, Beacon Hill Road from Sunset Bar and Grill until the beginning of White Sands Road, and Rhine Road, also known as Mullet Bay Road, after Sonesto Maho Beach Hotel to the entrance of Kupakoy from the intersection of the University Drive until the intersection of Rio Grande. For more information on how you can keep yourself and your family safe this hurricane season, visit stmartingolf.org/hurricane. This public service announcement is brought to you by the government of St. Martin.
Prime Minister, with the fall of the Kingdom government and the announcement of elections to take place in November, is there any sitting decision or sitting pipeline decisions that will be affected or impacted by the fall? And if any, can you give us an idea as to what those are?
You know, sometimes when we have kingdom discussions, whether it is tripartite or it's all four of us in the kingdom having discussions, and then you read things in the newspaper based on what one person says, it gives pause sometimes to understand if we maybe need to be a little stricter in ensuring we have an agreement on the minutes after those meetings before people go public. However, what I want to say is that when a government falls, and this is something that can happen to any of our governments, in this case, there will be an election in November, which can change the way in which the Netherlands chooses to function or is governed. So it can have an impact, but as it pertains to right now, we are continuing with the going concerns, and that is what we're doing. So as was mentioned by our Minister of Finance, we're having continued discussions on the loans. We are having discussions on whether it's the agreements within our reforms. Nothing has changed in that regard. So we have the ongoing things in the pipeline that will continue. Of course, with a demissionaire government, you're not allowed to start with, say, new initiatives. But everything that is already ongoing and is continuous should not be hampered in any way.
My first question to the Minister of Finance, Minister Irian. Minister, you mentioned Bearing Point and their injunction. I'd like to go a little further. I'd like to know, what is government position on the decision rendered? Are you appealing exactly? And what about the offer that Bearing Point has given government, where they will provide government with computers at a lower price? What is government position with companies that have taken government to court, have legal litigation, court litigations? Is there a blacklist for such companies? If so, is this across the board?
No, as a government, we don't have any blacklist. But I do think that there should be some type of consideration in terms of, in the future, in terms of companies that perform in a certain manner and doing future business. I had a call from I would say another government on another island, so not in St. Martin, regarding this whole situation. And for them also, it was very concerning in general how a company like that would potentially risk their reputation and so forth. So it's on the entity for themselves to understand how they proceed, but this is the virtual world. So it's not only St. Martin; every other government is watching also. So, and companies in general.
Most recently, we have had the Council of the Kingdom Council. A motion was presented to give St. Martin more time with the repayment of its debts. That motion was not supported. What is the next step for the government? Is there going to be more cuts or severe cuts, taking into consideration, Minister, that there can be another hurricane since we are in the hurricane season?
No, so we are now busy finalizing the refinancing discussions. St. Martin has sent our information, which by the Netherlands said, we have submitted a very good report on that. So we are busy now finalizing that process.
taking in consideration still the whole Enya situation.
With you, the new Kentucky. A combination that will surprise the most curious palates. Combining the deliciousness of KFC chicken and the practicality of a taco. With a doubly delicious ergonomic shape. Wow! Compatible with all types of bites. New Kentucky. Enjoy a double breaded chicken breast with our secret recipe. Cheese, lettuce, and tomato. New Kentucky, the innovation that's in everyone's mouth.
It's hurricane season. Are you prepared? Here are a few tips to keep in mind to help keep you and your family safe. The Atlantic hurricane season runs from June 1st to November 30th, with the peak occurring between mid-August and late October. This hurricane season, be sure to put together a go bag. A disaster supply kit including a flashlight, batteries, cash, first aid and supplies, medications, and copies of your critical information if you need to evacuate. This public service announcement was brought to you by the government of St. Martin. St. Martin, listen up. The Civil Registry Department has taken 7 services online. That's right, you can now request a family tree, local address change, migration deregistration, a registration form, request for existing certificates, transfer your driver's license, and a driver's license declaration, all online. Go to services.stmartingov.org/civil registry and easily complete a request form for the service that you need. You can also pay for the services online using a major credit card or debit card and receive certain final products digitally as well. No traffic jams, no waiting in lines. And if you're on island or off, you now have full digital access to 7 civil registry services at services.stmartingov.org/civil registry. That's services.stmartingov.org/civil registry. For more information, call 542-0652. Now go online and request your service form today.
At SXM, we're taking travel and tourism to new heights. Here we boast spacious check-in areas, 10 passport control points, comfortable departure lounges, and finally, there's an airport in the Caribbean that takes your travel plans as seriously as you do. Princess Juliana International Airport.
The workers at the airport are uneasy. I've heard a lot of talk on process and stuff concerning the airport. A number of people have been out in the public domain speaking a lot of stuff, saying a lot of things that they're not fully informed on. And they need to understand that the workers have grave concerns with this PPP. And workers come to work every day and they work hard. As a matter of fact, the hardest working group at this airport, or groups, are custodians, general workers, security, in that order. My general secretary is on record as saying that we are on standby. We are on standby. And if we are not satisfied after this, there's some level of discussion happening between our representative, the company, and government, but then I think we will mobilize and make it wider.
Having had 3 chances at negotiations, that this one presents the best possible deal for us. I hear that there are people who are talking about the fact that this is an Arab company. Mr. Speaker, where do we now get off discriminating against people on the basis of nationality? And have we forgotten that Bajans going to Abed's every day for the last 40 or 50 years? And they're going to the beauty shop in St. Michael's Row? For those who want to play to the worst attributes of humankind, Next thing you're going to hear that you shouldn't talk to people because they worship a different God? No, Mr. Speaker.
And I sense that there's an angst in Barbados about where these have existed. They have existed, Mr. Speaker, across the Caribbean. Linden Pingling Airport in Bahamas and Grand Bahama as well, public-private partnership. There are at least 3 of them in the Dominican Republic, Mr. Speaker, sir. Norman Manley and Sangster in Jamaica, both public-private partnership. Louis Munoz Marin in Puerto Rico, same thing. Aimé Césaire in Fort-de-France, same thing. They are across the Caribbean. Mr. Speaker, sir, we went through as a government a pre-qualification process which ended in May of 2020, and in August of 2020, 13 pre-qualified bidders were announced.
Leaders from the Caribbean Community and Common Market, CARICOM, gathered in Trinidad on Monday to discuss one of the most pressing issues in the region, crime. And while the leaders argued that improving their national crime-fighting strategies is important, an appeal for the United States to do more in stemming the flow of illegal weapons to the region. First, from the Prime Minister of the Bahamas, Philip Davis.
So you would have heard evidence of one Bahamian American who would have bought 46 weapons that would have been in a period of less than 2 months. We discovered that 9 of them were used in the Bahamas. We made that known to the U.S., but what has happened to that person? Nothing.
While Mr. Davis indicated that he will not get involved in Americans' constitutional right to bear arms, he said it cannot mean that residents in the states also get a right to traffic those arms.
And that has been the theme that I've been impressing upon them. Now, in recent times, they've passed an act that speaks to the straw purchases, etc. But I don't think they've gone far enough in that regard.
It was also revealed that states like Texas, Florida, Georgia, and others with a strong Caribbean diaspora are the ones trafficking most of the guns to the region. Prime Minister Andrew Holness stressed the importance of CARICOM leaders joining forces to pressure the United States to address gun trafficking.
As we have assisted them in the war on drugs, they must assist us in the war on guns. It is the greatest unfairness that we have diverted resources from other areas in which we could have spent it to fund and support a war on drugs. By the way, the 2 things are related.
Mr. Holness said it appears the United States has no real interest in stopping the other part of the guns for drugs trade in the Caribbean.
The guns fuel crime. They are an accelerant. They are needed to protect drugs that are transshipped through our borders. They are then turned to deal with other forms of criminal activities. We have seen in Jamaica where the weapon of choice is no longer the AK-47. It is the AR-15, it is the Glock. These are guns that are manufactured in North America.
The symposium, dubbed Violence as a Public Health Issue, the Crime Challenge, is expected to end tomorrow. Kelisha Williams, TVJ News.